$500 million. That's the value a creature only a few inches long brings to Louisiana each year. It's not a giant whale, not a rare seafood source, but the red swamp crawfish, a tiny crustacean many countries list as a dangerous invasive species. Beneath the dark mud of rice fields stretching to the horizon, they crawl, burrow, and expand their territory as if the entire land belongs to them. And ironically, that very resilience has turned them into the foundation of an industry that feeds thousands of families. Can you believe it? A species considered a pest here has become an economic treasure. And is this prosperity a gift or a warning from nature to humanity? In the pale morning light, crawfish emerge from cracked mud. Their crimson shells reflect the sun like dried blood of the American South, a blood that symbolizes both life and destruction. They don't swim, they don't glide like fish, they walk. Each small step on the land is a soft beat of an organized invasion that needs no commanding general. To understand this story, we have to go back a long way, to the freshwater regions of the Mississippi River Basin, the ancestral home of the red swamp crawfish. They are native here. Their ancestors lived in swamps and brackish waters, where salt water from the ocean mixed with fresh water from rivers, creating a harsh environment only strong creatures could endure. Their shells were forged over millions of years, not for display, but for survival. Their sharp claws were born not to be eye-catching, but to pinch, cut, and tear anything in their path. Yet, every epic story begins with a seemingly small human error. In 1916, hoping to create a cheap protein source for rice fields, Californian farmers and researchers imported crawfish from Louisiana and released them into irrigation canals. The idea sounded perfect. Use a Native American species to manage rice field remnants, increase yields, and provide inexpensive food. But nature doesn't operate according to human blueprints. Just a few years later, floods in Louisiana and Texas swelled. The fury of the Mississippi River, North America's largest artery. The canals broke, and those crawfish, without passports, without permits, followed the water and spread out. When the water receded, they continued to walk. No levee was deep enough, no field bank strong enough to stop them. From there, they spread across the American South, crossed state borders, then crossed oceans. By the mid-20th century, their footprints were found in Spain, Italy, China, Japan, and even Kenya. From here, the crawfish empire began to expand, a tiny species from Louisiana becoming a global invader, damaging rice fields, tearing fishing nets, eating native fish eggs, turning clear water murky, transforming green lakes into muddy pits. And you know what's scarier? Their reproductive rate far surpasses most freshwater crustaceans. A female can lay up to 500 eggs at once and can reproduce multiple times a year, depending on environmental conditions. This turns them into a population doubling machine every few months. Just imagine. You only need one pair of crawfish accidentally released into a pond. A year later, you could have thousands. But not every country has the capacity to turn disaster into opportunity. In Spain, rice fields were so severely dug up that plows would collapse levees. In Kenya, fishing nets, the sole possessions of local fishermen, were torn apart by crawfish claws. The fishing industry collapsed within a few rainy seasons. Lake water, once crystal clear, became as murky as mixed cement. Many families lost their livelihoods because of a species they never knew existed before. Yet, humans have not surrendered to nature's arrangements. In Louisiana, a land of paradoxes, they see things differently. Here, people aren't afraid of sharp claws or deep burrows under rice fields. They see opportunity. Amidst the swamps, a new economy began to emerge. Before dawn could even redden the swamps, aluminum boats cut through the water. The roar of engines tore through the morning fog. Louisiana fishermen, with hands calloused from consecutive harvests, lowered iron traps into the deep mud. Each trap weighed no more than a few pounds, but each pull brought up dozens, even hundreds, of vibrant red crawfish thrashing like living flames. Can you imagine that feeling? A whole brigade of crawfish pulled up in a single haul? They raise their claws as if in defiance, but their life cycle has entered a direction nature never predicted, becoming the ingredient for the famous Cajun boil culture. Louisiana crawfish production today reaches over from 100 to 150 million pounds annually, according to state agricultural research centers. And the total economic value from farming, harvesting, processing, and exporting has reached around from $300 to $500 million annually in recent decades. These numbers are almost unbelievable. A species once called mud bugs, burrowing devils, and field destroyers is now Louisiana's red gold. The question is, how did Louisianans turn a disaster into a feast? Let the people of Louisiana explain the secret they've kept for generations. It's all in the rice fields, what seems ordinary elsewhere. But here is the cradle of a $500 million industry. During winter, farmers flood their fields with 8 to 16 inches of water, transforming the entire area into shallow lakes. In these conditions, adult crawfish emerge from burrows 1 to 3 feet deep that they dug during the dry season. They reproduce during the wet season, and their larvae grow quickly on leftover straw, fallen grains, and microorganisms from the previous rice crop, all natural food sources, requiring no additional feed. In spring, as the new rice crop begins, farmers drain the water. The crawfish don't die. They simply retreat back into their burrows, relying on soil moisture until the water returns in winter. This wet-dry cycle perfectly matches the crawfish life cycle, making them reappear just in time and turning the entire field into a natural crawfish farm without the need for feed or cultivation equipment. Thanks to this model, Louisiana can produce over from 100 to 150 million pounds of crawfish annually, contributing about from $300 to $500 million to the state's economy. And what's astonishing is that most of that crawfish comes from these familiar rice fields, where rice plants and crawfish operate like two perfectly meshing gears. When crawfish are harvested, they don't just go straight into the pot. They enter a meticulously timed industrial supply chain. In processing plants along the river, thick steam envelops everything. Long conveyor belts continuously carry thousands of pounds of crimson crawfish. Workers cut, wash, sort, and package. All of this happens with a precision only industries worth hundreds of millions of dollars can achieve. The crawfish are then flash frozen using industrial methods to preserve the sweetness of their meat. From there, they are loaded into refrigerated containers, crossing bays and oceans, reaching Houston, Mexico City, Tokyo, and even Beijing, where the palates of millions are slowly falling in love with the taste of the Louisiana swamp. Perhaps you've seen images of spring crawfish boil festivals in Louisiana, tons of red crawfish dumped onto long tables, spicy steam rising profusely, everyone peeling shells, sucking heads, laughing amidst music. But few know that behind that aroma lies a colossal paradox. The species that once ravaged lakes and ponds now sustains an entire region. However, the nature of big stories is never one-sided. In many areas of Louisiana, the water is murkier than before. Some wetland areas are degraded, where once delicate ecosystems are now fragile. Crawfish, while profitable, still have the potential to escape managed areas and cause damage elsewhere. But even as the crawfish industry thrives, the biggest risk lies within the very land that nurtured them. Louisiana's swamp ecosystem is changing faster than humans predicted. Water is murkier, oxygen levels are dropping, aquatic vegetation is depleting, and many small channels are gradually disappearing due to erosion and climate change. These changes don't kill adult crawfish, but they threaten the larval generation, the weakest and most crucial stage in their life cycle. No new predators have appeared. Only the environment is becoming more unpredictable. And that creates a new layer of tragedy. A $500 million industry is dependent on tiny creatures that could suddenly decline with just a few small environmental changes. That's not the fault of the crawfish. It's a reminder that nature always has its own say in ventures humans seemingly control. The question arises again, are we controlling nature or merely delaying its collapse? Louisiana is not unaware of this. They understand that the crawfish economy will not survive if the swamps die. Therefore, farmers, scientists, fishermen, and even consumers are gradually changing their ways. Reducing water pollution, improving levee systems, monitoring ecosystem health, using data to manage yields. And most importantly, they constantly remind themselves that today's success doesn't guarantee tomorrow's balance.
A visual reminder. Today's success doesn't guarantee tomorrow's balance.
Watching the children of New Orleans laugh at crawfish boil festivals, holding spicy red crawfish in their hands, you'll understand that this story isn't just about economics or ecology. It's a story about people, about adaptability, about mistakes, about opportunity, about how we turn disaster into celebration and an invasive species into an icon. And it's also a story about responsibility. Every crawfish pulled from the red mud, every trap set, every plate of crawfish served is a choice. A choice between today's prosperity and tomorrow's sustainability. If stories like this pique your curiosity, making you ponder the future of our oceans, rivers, and the red swamps that have sustained a whole region, then you're in the right place. We will continue to explore strange creatures, silent industries, ecological tragedies, and the small but powerful hopes nature holds for humanity. Because somewhere, amidst the Louisiana fields beneath the heavy mud, crawfish continue to crawl, multiply, and tell a story that we, whether we want to or not, are all a part of. If journeys like this resonate with you, you can leave a small mark, a like, a subscribe, to let us know you're still following along. No pressure, just a way for us to keep connecting through the untold stories of the ocean and the swamp.